The minute my phone buzzed at April 22, 2025, 7:03 a.m., my world tilted off its axis. I stared down at the screen, unknown number, one new message, and felt the metallic sting of yesterday's coffee still clinging to my tongue as I sank into the kitchen chair. Outside, the distant hum of I-85 traffic droned beneath Atlanta's dawn light. I rubbed my eyes, slammed my hand onto the Formica counter to steady myself, then tapped view. A photograph, pixelated but unmistakable, filled my screen. Jessica, my wife of 8 years, leaned close to Ryan Moore, her high school sweetheart and now a regional sales director, at last night's April 21st alumni gala in Midtown. Their heads were nearly touching under the amber glow of the ballroom chandelier. Jessica's hand rested on Ryan's forearm, his other hand hovered at her waist. Laughter froze in their eyes. Behind them, the Atlanta skyline winked through a haze of glare and champagne bubbles. My breath caught. I pressed a finger to the edge of the photo, zooming in on Ryan's tailored suit and Jessica's silk blouse, her perfume tang almost imaginable through the glass. The kitchen's tile floor felt uneven. For a moment, all I could hear was the brass ticking from my grandfather's watch, lying on the sideboard, reminding me that time refused to stop. Maybe it's a misread. They've been friendly at reunions. I reminded myself, heart hammering. But the picture's edges felt like glass shards against my palm. I fought to keep my voice steady as I tapped reply. Instead of typing anything, I slid the phone face down on the counter, stared at the chipped coffee mug, and swallowed hard. Jessica's laughter from our April 2019 wedding at Decatur Square drifted into my mind, her head thrown back as I spun her on the dance floor to Etta James. I tasted that same joy now replaced by acrid panic. I forced myself to inhale, the faint aroma of burnt toast, her half-finished latte, and the lingering scent of her jasmine shampoo from last night's bath. I stood, pacing between the table and the living room, each step a battle to control my racing thoughts. She's never missed a Sunday breakfast with Mia. Why would she lie? My hand trembled as I lifted the brass watch from the sideboard, its cool weight grounding me. I glanced at its face, 7:05 a.m., April 22nd. 2 minutes had passed since the photo arrived, yet it felt like hours. I sank back into the chair, stomach knotting. Obligation warred with disbelief, confront her now and risk a scene. Or wait until I have proof. The kitchen light flickered, perhaps a power surge, perhaps my pulse throbbed in my ears. The humming traffic outside grew louder, as if mocking my paralysis. My phone buzzed again. This time, no new message, just a lingering silence that pressed in. I exhaled, tasting stale coffee and anxiety. My thumb hovered over Jessica's contact. Jessica, are you okay? But guilt knotted my fingers. She deserved an explanation, yes, but not before I knew what exactly I'd seen. The brass watch ticked on the sideboard, each second a testament to life moving forward, yet I felt stuck in place. My heart pounded as I slid my phone into my pocket, forcing myself to sip the cold coffee. With each metallic swallow, I reminded myself, breathe. Stay calm. Because once I asked her about this, there would be no turning back. The brass watch on my wrist ticked steadily as I sank onto the worn leather couch, its weight both comforting and oppressive. I closed my eyes and let my mind drift back to the day Jessica and I signed the lease for our Virginia Highland bungalow. It was a crisp September 10, 2016, and the aroma of roasted espresso beans from Krog Street Market mingled with the scent of freshly painted walls. We'd laughed over takeout breakfast burritos from Athens, imagining our future, a nursery for our daughter, Mia, a wood-plank coffee table where we'd share late-night conversations. I remembered how Jessica had squeezed my hand, her eyes shining with excitement, and whispered, "We're building a home." Those early months had been almost idyllic. Date nights at Pond City Market, sharing a cone of Jenny's ice cream, and spontaneous weekend drives to Lake Lanier, where Jessica insisted on stopping at that lakeside donut shop for cinnamon rolls. I'd watch her smile as she took a bite, frosting smudged at the corner of her mouth, and think how lucky I was. Evenings were spent assembling IKEA furniture, debating paint swatches, and marveling at how simple chores felt significant when done together. I cherished those moments, believing they were the foundation of forever. When Mia arrived on March 2, 2018, our world shifted again. I'll never forget the first time I held her in the Advent Health Hospital nursery, her tiny fist curling around my finger as Jessica cried tears of joy beside me. From the very beginning, Jessica poured herself into motherhood. She'd read "Good Night Moon" in Mia's voice during bedtime, and we'd turn off all the lights except the night light shaped like a whale. Those bedtime rituals felt sacred: Mia's soft breathing, Jessica's gentle lullaby, and the ticking of my grandfather's brass watch on the dresser marking each peaceful minute. But as Mia grew, Jessica returned to work at Evergreen Advertising, climbing the corporate ladder. At first, I welcomed it. Her salary helped cover preschool tuition and our renovated kitchen. I celebrated her promotion to account manager on February 10, 2021. We popped champagne on our balcony overlooking Piedmont Park, the city lights reflected in her teary eyes. She'd called me "my rock" in front of her co-workers. I beamed. Her success was my success. Gradually, though, subtle shifts emerged. I recall a Tuesday, March 5, 2024, I found a dinner receipt for two at the Sundial restaurant, $1.86 for scallops and wine, dated February 28, 2024. Jessica texted me afterward, saying it was a client meeting. I'd looked at that receipt and felt a twinge of unease, since we'd cancelled our planned night out due to my unexpected work trip to Nashville, but I brushed it off when she laughed, promising to make it up to me with homemade lasagna. Then there were the phone calls. I'd be grading project proposals at my desk in the study when I'd overhear her voice in the hallway, whispering urgently, "Ryan, I need your insight on the campaign pitch." But the tone was not her professional tone, it was hushed, intimate. She'd slip back to our bedroom at 2:12 a.m. with mascara smudged under her eyes. When I'd asked her why she'd stayed so late at the office, she'd said, "We had a big new business presentation. You know how it is." I nodded, half believing, though a knot tightened in my chest. One evening in March 2024, I stumbled upon Ryan's business card tucked into Jessica's purse. Ryan Moore, Regional Director, Evergreen Advertising. I confronted her quietly over dinner at home. Her explanation flowed smoothly. He gave it to me after I pitched that new campaign idea. Just networking. I wanted to believe her, so I did. I remembered her lips forming "networking" as if rehearsed. That day, the brass watch felt unusually heavy on my wrist, like a reminder that something was off. A month later, I noticed a series of charges to the W Midtown Diner, 3 separate nights in April 2024, each labeled simply, "late dinner meeting." Yet Jessica's work calendar showed no such meetings that week. When I pointed out the discrepancy over coffee in our kitchen, Jessica's brow furrowed. I covered for a coworker, she insisted. We needed extra space for the creative team. I accepted her words, swallowed my doubt, and changed the subject, feeling guilty for even asking. Then came Carla's comment. She was one of Jessica's co-workers who stopped by our house for Mia's first birthday party. Carla said with a conspiratorial smile, "Ryan really takes care of Jessica. They collaborate so well on that Atlanta expansion project." At the time, I felt pride that Jessica was respected. Only now did I recognize the underlying tension in Carla's tone. Admiration mingled with something else. I opened my eyes and returned to the present. The brass watch gleams under the ceiling light, its second-hand marking time without mercy. I slide my phone from my pocket, open the banking app, and scroll through logos: late dinner meeting, charges at W Midtown Diner, a $215 spa gift certificate to R. Moore on April 10, 2024, and a series of Lyft receipts to Buckhead Mall for errands on April 12. Each entry whispers questions. Why would she spend $312 at Canlis on a weeknight in March? Why are there multiple executive wellness sessions billed at 2 a.m.? I run a hand through my hair, thinking of the night she admitted lingering at the office because Ryan needed brainstorming support. That excuse now sounds hollow. I lean back and notice Mia's favorite lullaby stuffed sheep perched on the armchair, its tiny bow a token of her love. Guilt and sorrow twist in my gut. I want to protect her innocence, shield her from the truth. But I also know I must uncover every detail, every lie. The brass watch on my wrist clicks again, time refuses to pause. With measured resolve, I rise from the couch, preparing to trace each hint of betrayal until I have the full picture. The journey ahead will be methodical, deliberate, just as the ticking watch dictates. The morning sunlight slanted through the blinds as I sat at the kitchen table, the brass watch tickling my wrist like a constant reminder that time waits for no one. After wrestling with those memories and late-night receipts, I knew I couldn't linger in doubt any longer. By April 23, 2025, 8 a.m., I found myself walking briskly toward Java Lords in Buckhead, where my older brother, Evan, and my longtime friend, Laura Chong, a family therapist, waited. Evan greeted me with his usual steady cadence. "David, talk to me," he said as I sank into the booth. Across from me, Laura offered a warm, reassuring smile. I placed my phone, with its gallery of incriminating photos dated April 21st, on the table and exhaled. "It's Jessica," I began, voice low but deliberate. "She's been intimate with Ryan Moore. Last night's photo is the latest proof." I slid the image across to Evan, and he viewed it in silence before nodding. Laura leaned forward. "You're doing the right thing by talking to us. Next steps, document everything, gather evidence, and get legal counsel. I can help you track your own emotional state and Mia's well-being." Her words were gentle but firm, a lifeline of clarity. Evan added, "I'll come up next weekend and help you organize. You're not alone in this." For the first time since discovering the photo, I felt a flicker of resolve. That afternoon, I met with counselor Laura Kim at her Virginia Highland office. She listened as I recounted the April 21st reunion photo, the late-night meetings, and the suspicious expenses. Her office smelled of polished wood and lavender, a calm counterpoint to the storm inside me. "David, maintain a log," she advised. "Every time Jessica leaves late, write down the date, time, and any details you notice. Also note how Mia, and you, respond emotionally. This will support your case if custody becomes contested." I nodded, already drafting column headers in my notebook: date, time left, return time, observed behavior, notes. By April 25th, I had an appointment with attorney Selena Rodriguez in the Midtown Legal District. Her office was crisp, minimalist, white walls, dark wood desk, and a brass hourglass that resembled my grandfather's watch. She greeted me with a firm handshake. As I presented the evidence, photographs, printed email exchanges between Jessica and Ryan, and screenshots of deleted group chat notifications, her expression remained calm but knowledgeable. "This is substantial," she said. "We'll file for separation and outline a custody plan. First, preserve all evidence in its original form. I'll need notarized copies of these documents, plus any bank statements and hotel receipts you've gathered." She laid out the strategy: file for legal separation, request temporary custody arrangements, and, if necessary, seek supervised visitation rights for Jessica. "You'll want to establish a clear timeline," Selena said, tapping her pen against a notepad. "We need dates for each suspicious charge, every late return, and any communications you can produce. The more meticulous, the better." I felt my chest tighten, but also an undercurrent of determination. This was no longer blind panic, it was a plan. On Saturday, April 26th, Evan arrived with a duffel bag full of highlighters, sticky tabs, and expanding file folders. We turned my home office into a makeshift command center, a stack of binder clips on one corner, envelopes labeled emails, receipts, and security footage beside them. Laura came later to help establish the log template that Laura Kim recommended. With her guidance, I recorded details from the previous few days. April 22nd, Jessica left at 11:47 p.m., returned at 2:15 a.m., Mia awoke crying, sensing tension, David felt disoriented. Each line in my log felt like forging another link in an unbreakable chain. Next, I purchased 2 discrete security cameras from TechGuard, one positioned to capture the front entrance and another in the hallway near Jessica's study. I measured angles to avoid infringing on Mia's playroom or the shared living spaces. My focus was strictly on Jessica's comings and goings. By Monday, April 28th, the cameras were installed, recording to a locked drive. I tested each feed. April 24th, 11:47 p.m., Jessica's Mercedes idling in the driveway. 12:05 a.m., Jessica stepping into Ryan's Buckhead condo. 2:12 a.m., Jessica re-entering the house. The timestamps matched the calendar entries I'd already logged. Meanwhile, I drafted the outline for custody proposals. Borrowing a blank binder from Evan, I created sections titled Visitation Schedule, Child Support, Education Fund, and Counseling Plan. For Mia, 4, I specified that I would assume primary residential custody, proposing that Jessica have supervised weekend visits contingent on her completing counseling and proof of stable employment. I calculated monthly support figures: daycare at Little Braves Academy, $1,200, pediatric visits at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, $300, and a contingency fund for summer camp. Each figure I wrote felt like re-establishing stability for my daughter, something Jessica's betrayal had threatened. Late nights, I found myself in the study, notarizing documents at home with an official stamp I'd purchased from Office Depot. As I watched the wax seal dry on each paper, bank statements from April 2024, hotel invoices from March, and printed chat logs from March, April 2025, the brass watch on my wrist ticked steadily. It was almost 1 a.m. On April 30th, when I finished sealing the last envelope labeled, Evidence Packet, May Motion, I sent Selena a text, Packet prepared for Monday. Ready to proceed. Her reply arrived within seconds, Excellent. I'll review and prepare filing. Despite fatigue, I felt a quiet pride. I wasn't a passive victim. I was taking action, each notarized page, each logged entry, each consultation with Selena and Laura edging me closer to a fair resolution. The brass watch reminded me that although Jessica's betrayal had cracked my world, I still controlled my own steps. On April 30th, I met Jessica in our living room under the pretense of discussing Mia's upcoming recital. She appeared tired, her eyes shadowed. I kept my tone measured. I talked to Selena today, I said, watching her reaction. She forced a curt nod. She needs proof to proceed. I'll be filing on May 1st at 10 a.m. Jessica's mouth opened, but no words emerged as she processed the calm finality in my voice. That night, I sat on the couch and let the logbook rest on my lap. Mia's stuffed sheep toy lay beside me, its plush form a reminder of innocent trust. I opened my journal and wrote, April 30th, 2025, evidence compiled, custody draft complete, cameras installed. Feeling clearer than ever. Next, file petition on May 1st at 10 a.m. I closed the notebook, the brass watch reflecting lamplight, and realized that although the path ahead would be arduous, I would walk it purposefully, each tick marking another step toward justice and a new beginning. The spring sunlight slanted through Selena's office window as I sat opposite Jessica, the brass watch on my wrist feeling heavier than ever. Selena stood behind her desk, arms folded, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the tumult inside me. I placed a folder labeled, Evidence Packet, May Motion, between us and took a steadying breath. Jessica, I began, voice measured, this folder contains everything, emails, invoices, security footage timestamps. I want you to see it all. I opened to the first page, an email dated April 28th at 11:03 p.m. from you to Ryan Moore, can't stop thinking of you. Below it, his reply, meet me at your place. You lifted your chin, eyes defiant. Selena clicked her pen, prompting me to continue. These are the security stills from April 24th, I said, sliding 2 photographs forward. In the first, your silhouette at 11:47 p.m. emerges from our front door. In the second, at 12:05 a.m., you step into Ryan's Buckhead condo. I watched you study the images, your face paling. Selena cleared her throat. Jessica, do you have anything to say? You swallowed hard, glancing at the framed wedding photo Selena kept on her credenza, our faces frozen in happiness under the Decatur Square gazebo. The photo's golden frame gleamed, a reminder of vows now broken. I didn't mean for it to go this far, you whispered, voice wavering. I flipped to the next page, a champagne receipt for 2 at Canlis, dated April 15th at 10:12 p.m., charged to Ryan's corporate card. This dinner was billed as a celebration of your promotion, I said, leaning forward. Yet you weren't promoted until April 16th. Your eyes flickered to the wedding photo, then away. Silence stretched, broken only by the ticking of my brass watch, its second hand marking each moment of truth. I pressed on. I have bank statements showing a $312 charge under executive dining on March 30th, and voicemail transcripts of your late-night calls with Ryan discussing team-building ideas. Carlos from accounting confirmed there was no formal team event that night. Each statement landed like a nail driven home. Jessica's shoulders slumped. She looked down, twisting her hands in her lap. I'm sorry, she murmured, tears brimming. I held up a framed key, the spare key to our Virginia Highland home, lifting it for both of you to see. This key opened our life together, I said quietly. Now I keep it here with Selena. I set it next to the wedding photo, symbolic of my reclaiming control. Trust isn't given, it's earned. You use trust to climb a ladder, not to build a family. Your sob rose, raw and regretful. Selena closed the evidence folder and offered you a tissue. I need you to understand the consequences, Selena said softly. David will be filing tomorrow. I exhaled, feeling a weight lift. Standing, I met your eyes, steady, resolved. Goodbye, Jessica. As I walked out into the warm May 5th air, the brass watch ticked against my wrist, each click affirming that the turning point had arrived. The door closed behind me, and with each step toward our Virginia Highland neighborhood, I felt the first real breaths of freedom since the betrayal's sharp sting. 2 weeks later, May 19, 2025, I sat in Fulton County Superior Court as Judge Patel signed the final divorce decree. Jessica relinquished our Virginia Highland bungalow and agreed to supervised weekend visits for Mia, contingent on completing counseling and proof of stable residence. I retained primary custody. A support order stipulated monthly payments from Jessica's new position, covering daycare, preschool supplies, and therapy sessions. Each clause felt like a brick laid in rebuilding our daughter's world. That evening, back in my empty living room, I removed Jessica's scarves from the coat rack and placed them in a donation box. I hung a new framed photo above the mantel, Mia's pre-K graduation smile, cap slightly askew, joy radiating from her face. The brass watch on my wrist felt lighter, its steady tick marking a new chapter. Over the next month, late May 2025, I re-established routines for our family. Mornings now began with breakfast at home, pancakes and fruit, rather than rushed lunches on the way to daycare. At 7:30 a.m., I dropped Mia at Star Bright Academy in Buckhead, where she waved goodbye, clutching her favorite stuffed sheep. Weekend hikes to Sweetwater Creek State Park and afternoon trips to the Atlanta Botanical Garden became our new normal, each shared moment stitching our lives back together. I reconnected with Evan, regular Sunday brunch at West Egg Cafe, where we fished stories about family lore. I continued sessions with Laura, learning to navigate Mia's emotions, fears of abandonment, nighttime restlessness, and the comfort she finds in my brass watch when she clutches it to fall asleep. One May 30th evening, after tucking Mia into bed, I opened my laptop and drafted my first blog post for From Betrayal to Balance. I wrote about confronting pain through evidence, maintaining calm under pressure, and prioritizing my daughter's well-being. By midnight, I hit publish, bracing for responses. Within hours, messages arrived from readers across Georgia and Florida. Your story gave me hope, thank you for showing me a path. I smiled, outlining future topics, rebuilding trust with your children, finding purpose after heartbreak, and embracing new beginnings. On Memorial Day weekend, May 2025, Mia and I picnicked at Piedmont Park. She skipped ahead, picking wildflowers, while I sat on a blanket, watching the Atlanta skyline glow at dusk. I checked my brass watch, it's ticking a gentle promise that every moment counts. In Mia's laughter, I found renewed purpose. Love isn't defined by betrayal, but by the resilience to build something new.